Right, good morning, everybody. Thank you very much for coming to this next session. Just a quick reminder to use Slido to ask any questions that you might have. We are in Enterprise 2, so that's the room you need. I'm delighted to welcome to the stage this morning Jennifer Liston-Smith, Head of Thought Leadership at Bright Horizons Family Solutions, and with her is Alison, Kanabe, Head of Pensions and Benefits, EMEA and Canada at the Bank of America. Thank you very much.
Many thanks, Dawn. Thank you. Thank you all so much for choosing this session. I think we've got quite a feast of information and knowledge to share. So I'm really delighted to be here with, are the slides moving forward? Yes. So delighted to be here with Alison. As Dawn has mentioned, I'm Head of Thought Leadership with Bright Horizons. We work with around 400 organisations, leading employers in the UK, helping to make work and family work together through care, through coaching, through online advice and solutions. And Alison is with Bank of America, which probably needs no introduction, although we are going to do some introductions. Great to be here with you today, Alison.
Thank you.
So tell us a little bit about Bank of America in case anybody wants a bit of background.
Yeah, sure. So Bank of America is a global financial services firm headquartered in Charlotte in the US. And most people will know Bank of America in the US from a retail perspective. But certainly outside of the US, we provide services across 8 lines of business. Predominantly in the UK, we work across global banking, global markets, and we also have, like most organisations, technology, operations and control functions. So it's quite a complex organisation, about 7,000 employees. And my role is to manage pensions and benefits for Europe, Middle East and Africa, plus Canada and the Cayman Islands for some reason. I know it's always a bit of a random addition, but that's generally, what I do on a day-to-day basis.
Perfect. Does that mean you get to travel a bit, though?
I have been trying for 10 years.
Brilliant. Thanks so much, Alison. So what we're going to do is to share a little bit of a fireside chat. This has to make place for the fire, if we can just imagine that, with Alison around, why you have put in place the kind of strategy that you have for parents and carers in Bank of America. And then we're also going to have a little look at some research, which is also on the chairs for you to take away. So hopefully that'll be useful data for you. So let's do the fireside chat proper. You've won some awards, haven't you, at Bank of America? Do you want to tell us how you've fared in terms of external recognition?
Yeah, we've not done too badly. I mean, I think globally we engage in a number of awards, specifically for pensions and benefits. We have been awarded the Employee Benefits Award last year for health and wellbeing, as well as workplace savings. But the other award that we achieved last year, or certainly this year, was to be granted health creating status under the Mind Forward Alliance mental health accreditation. So that was really, and I'm smiling because Andrea in my team, who's been working tirelessly to achieve that, we were really proud to get that and it's not just about what we do in benefits, it's about what we do right across HR. So it's a real partnership award. So we're really proud of that.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And we've had a partnership going on since 2008, so it's been quite a long commitment that the bank has made to supporting parents and carers and having a kind of strategic reason for doing that. It's not only, as we've often heard today, it's not only the right thing to do, but has kind of sound business purposes. But can you tell us a little bit more about the strategic drivers for you?
Yeah, absolutely. And I would say first and foremost, and most people would say I would say this, but I think that the benefit of having such a long-standing relationship is actually working with an organisation who really understands us, how we operate, what our challenges are. So I think that's been beneficial in us achieving some of those strategic objectives. But what I would say is that, like most organisations, we recognise the importance of our employees, our teammates. We recognise that you know, there are going to be things that impact their lives on a day-to-day basis, impact their ability to kind of do their jobs. And that might be everything from childcare or elder care to, you know, managing sickness. So from our perspective, in terms of our own inclusion and opportunity, I guess, strategy, it fits in very closely with that. And so we know we have a really strong partner who understands us, who can help deliver that to our employees. So that's been really important for us as well. But the other piece of that has been that as a global organisation, we tend to have lots of, you know, teammates who join us from all over the world. That means they're leaving their own families and they're coming to work at our own offices in various countries. But the challenge is that, you know, they may only have their partner with them or they may be on their own. So actually providing that network, getting that network together to support you can be really difficult. And this is where this steps in. It's a really good backup opportunity for our employees and it's worked really well.
And I think it's a really interesting point about the kind of global mobility, because I remember not that many years ago hearing, for example, within Ireland, HR professionals saying, well, backup care, which is one of the things that we do together, where, you know, you can have some care sweeps into place last minute when normal care arrangements fall down. And being told that in Ireland that wasn't really needed because people had such strong family networks around them. And yet what we see now in cities like Dublin, like Belfast, that's really changed and there is a very mobile talent pool. So I think that's a really important point. So let's talk a little bit more about the specific supports, because one of the things that we have promised to look at in this session is the moments that matter, and there are moments across the lifespan, because sometimes when we think of working parents, for example, we think of, you know, getting somebody back to work after parental leave. But if anyone else is a parent here, we know that's the beginning in terms of that whole integration of career and family, and there are a lot of other life stages that need support. So what kinds of things have you found it useful to put in place?
I think there's a range of opportunities, and it's not just individuals with families, so I think I would call that out. But obviously, part of the proposition is providing backup childcare. So we do provide 20 days of backup childcare for each of our employees, and they can use that as they see fit. So it might be that they need a nanny, or it might mean that they want to use a nursery for their childcare emergencies. So we provide those services. But in addition to that, we know for parents how stressful the summer holidays can be. I do remember them well. So we do provide opportunity for individuals to use part of that allowance to, you know, basically allow their child to go to a holiday club throughout the summer holidays. But also what's becoming increasingly important is elder care. So we also provide an additional 20 days of elder care for our employees, which I think I guess when we started to put that in, there was sort of that question about do we need it? But I think increasingly it's become essential to what we offer. And then the last piece I would say is that we know employees have challenges on their own, or they may be going through a period of sickness absence. So having somebody who can support them potentially in their home is also part of the service proposition, which I think has been also very beneficial. So providing all of that support. And also we've made very good use of your online services for our employees, the work and family portal that allows individuals to do everything from tap into information, webinars, one-to-one sessions and coaching around some of those areas of care. So all of that has been really beneficial and helpful for our employees.
Yeah, thank you, Alison. And I think what's interesting there is it's a combination of knowledge that people can access and then the practical support that's actually there on your doorstep, and in a way you can't measure the value of that, but we do measure the value of it. But I think that kind of combination is really important strategically. And we're at the REBA Congress, and a lot of the dialogue here is about how do you make sure that people know what they've got access to, how do you communicate it? And I know that you and our teams have worked quite hard to find multiple channels to communicate that effectively.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think we have, for most anybody who's been involved in benefits communications knows it's an ongoing process. You're never one and done. And so what we have done is obviously partnered with you around some of those resources and finding various ways to put that in front of our employees, be it roadshows, be it, you know, kind of your standard emails. But equally, we've just used our partners as well. So we work very closely with our parent and carers network. We have chapters in most of our main offices. And so we use them to spread that message. And when they're having tea and talks or coffee mornings, we go along really to answer any questions. So using every opportunity that we can to help them understand what's there and a little bit of the detail of what they have access to.
So that network is a really good sort of ambassador for what you're doing and amplifies the strategy. So tell us a little bit more about the network. It's quite a thriving network, I gather.
Yeah, absolutely. So the network works on a chapter basis, and it's actually quite formally structured, actually, in that you always have a network lead, as many organisations do, and they set their agenda at the start of the year. So we tend to work with them in terms of what is it that we're doing from a strategic strategic point of view, and how can we partner with them based on the needs of their carers and their members. So we definitely do a lot of work on from that perspective. But they are fantastic in grasping the mantle and really helping us understand what they need, particularly if we think about neurodiversity. That's been a huge piece for us in terms of making sure that there's the right support for our employees. But it's their messaging, their feedback, their guidance, which helps us to deliver plans and programs that are really relevant to them. So, yeah, it's a really good partnership, particularly with the parent and carers network, but we have networks right across the organisation.
Of course. And I think sharing stories is another part of what networks do, isn't it? To kind of normalise the challenges so that we see we're not the only one that's struggling to juggle, so to speak. Absolutely.
And I think in addition to some of what they've done is really sort of looked at their own channels of doing that. So one of their opportunities is they do have buddy programs, for example, and that's been a great way of not only supporting each other, but again, sharing that information on a more specific basis, a one-to-one basis where it's really needed.
Mm. And what else do you do on wider health and wellbeing? Are there any other things you'd want to mention?
Yeah, so from a well-being perspective, I mean, this has been a long, a long journey for us. We established many years ago a Health and Wellbeing Council because we wanted to make the lines of business really accountable for driving the agenda. We're there to support them. It's really the business that needs to do some of that work. So we work very closely with our council. But from a health and wellbeing perspective, we have tried certainly to respond, as I was talking before, about the needs that we're hearing from our employees. And so that has meant that we have been able to introduce things like neurodiversity support into our healthcare plan. And more recently, I think our understanding that the challenges of child mental health and access to care has meant that we've been also able to work with our healthcare provider to provide benefits specifically supporting mental health for children as well. So again, thinking about what the organisation needs, what the individuals need, and trying to make sure that there is that sort of the meeting of the two minds, and that we're delivering, I guess, services and support for employees that are really relevant to what they're experiencing today.
Yeah, and one of the things I'm really struck by is how attentive you are to all of those life stages and sort of anticipating what it is that could detract from people's performance or well-being. So you're kind of looking out for the business performance and you're looking out for the individual well-being. And I mean, I know we work together very often, sort of looking at, what's next, what else could be done, and that's the key, isn't it? To keep, not sort of resting on, wow, this is good, but actually, what's next?
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you so much, Alison. So looking at the piece that's on your seats together, I wonder whether it would be helpful to have a little look at some of the data that can help you when you're building your business case around the kind of support that you may want to put in place, whether it's things you build internally, whether it's things that you bring in. every year on year, we do quite a lot of primary research at Bright Horizons. One of the pieces that we do is called the Modern Families Index. It's been going for well over a dozen years, and it's the wider UK population of working parents and carers. And the other is this piece that's just been released called the Work and Family Snapshot, which is with our clients' employees. And we had about 2,000 take part from nearly 200 of our clients' organisations, so it's quite a good sample. And it allows us to look at how people are feeling about their organisation's support for family. And we put that in the context of what we know to be the business priorities. This might be a good moment for a poll that we're wanting to run. The other thing that it allows us to look at is, are our clients' employees happier than the general population? And we'll have a little look at that in a moment. But just to get a sense of your priorities, because what we're always striving to do is to try and get under the skin of what organisations are wanting to achieve. As we were talking about before, it's got to be a win-win for the organisational performance and the individual needs and well-being and engagement. So in terms of priorities, we keep well in touch with our clients. We have frequent sort of roundtable discussions looking at what's upcoming. And very interesting to see talent retention and engagement is a standout priority for yourselves here. So well over half, 58%. Supporting return to office, it's interesting to see that's quite low, because I think a lot of organisations have done that in a way, have sort of done the policy and made the step, although I think some of us are still grappling with, you know, how do you bed that in, and how do we make sure that certain people aren't becoming invisible because they're not there in person, and that can fall heavily on people with children and adult dependents. So I think there's still a bit of support ongoing there, but maybe the decision as to how to work has been made. So very helpful to see that poll. Thank you so much for sharing that. So we took these themes, which map fairly well to what you were presenting there, with the added theme of the real need to evidence, possibly more than ever, the ROI, the impact of putting benefits support in place or well-being support in place, the impact of that in terms of return on investment for the business, for the performance of the business, and mapping those to those other themes of talent retention, return to office, and mental health and well-being. And you've got this as a takeaway, so I'm just going to point to it briefly. But essentially, when we did the Modern Families Index, which is the UK population, we found that people were reporting high levels of stress. Around about a third of people were, on a scale of 1 to 10, were at 8 or higher out of 10 in terms of their regular stress level. And that was making it hard to focus at work. And then we surveyed organisations where the employees have access to family support. So these are those employers that have already taken a step to say, we have a strategy around work and well-being. We have a strategy around parents and carers. And we found that people are saying that improves productivity, it improves performance, it improves the ability to focus during working hours. So in terms of that big business priority of, does it enable people to do their job? People are saying, yes, it does. So it's not only a well-being support. It certainly is a well-being support, but it goes beyond that in terms of performance. And we mention that because that's often the data that you really need to evidence in terms of the bottom line. So just to kind of make sure that we're always addressing that. And then on the right-hand side there, you can see the green line that slopes dangerously down. That is the UK population. The Modern Families Index, and in the last couple of years, the perception of employers being supportive of family has fallen quite drastically, and it was always rising previously. And we put that down to the sort of, you know, post-pandemic, there was the sort of do everything we can for well-being, and now there's been a slight pullback, and well, we will do what we can, but we need to see some performance in return for that. So the wider UK population is saying, my employer, I don't judge them to be as supportive of family as I did a couple of years ago. However, those top two lines, the green line is people, as Alison was saying, accessing sort of online support and advice, and the top line is people who've actually used backup care, and they rated their employer 22 percentage points higher in terms of being supportive of family. So in terms of engagement, it's hitting that box. So when you've put practical supports in place, whatever it is you choose to put in place, you are very likely to be getting tangible results that are leading to engagement and those other areas of sort of talent retention and loyalty. In terms of the return to office, which wasn't the biggest priority for yourselves, but there's that sort of sustaining of it. 95%, so nearly all the people surveyed said that it was really important to have a backup plan. If we're asking people to be more present in person, and there are huge benefits to that in terms of collaboration, we need to give them a backup if care is not working out on a given day. Some of us may think it's easier to just manage a child in the background. Not that easy, but you know, if you're working from home, but if you've got to go into the office, very difficult. But equally with adult care, that's needed if we're, again, being more present in person. But interestingly, on the left-hand side, in terms of what helps, people are saying we still want flexibility of time. Let's not forget that flexibility has a time element, not just location. So if you want me in person at a particular location, give me some flexibility over how I time that, and that will make me more engaged and more able to perform. And in terms of well-being and mental health, really strong results in terms of 9 in 10 saying it eases the mental load. And some people use backup care to access virtual tutoring, which is another benefit for, thank you, for when we're talking about adults, parents of older children, being able to use backup care to access virtual tutoring is another, moment that matters, whether it's GCSEs, A-levels. Enabling backup care to support in that way can also, in terms of presence at work, can cover those sort of end of the school day moments when people would otherwise be rushing home or being kind of in the next room trying to oversee homework. So that's helping in those regards. And the bar chart talks about the difference that people are seeing in terms of priorities. And year on year, we're giving people statements to rate. And they're saying family is getting to be a higher priority, and that's particularly true among younger people. And also a lot of people are having a rethink. What's it all about? What's the purpose of it all? So in that context, as employers, we have to meet people where they are, pay attention to family, because I think with Gen Z, there's the kind of different expectations. If I'm going to do all this work for you, I want you to make my life a bit easier. But also I want to feel there's meaning in what I'm doing. And so there has to be a kind of shared sense of purpose as well. So that's what we wanted to share. I don't know if there are any questions on Slido. I'm hoping that will come up on here and see whether people have got burning questions. But if there's anything in the room, oh, here they are on Slido. Shall I look at these, or is there a burning question in the room? I'll look on here. So top of the list, is this viewed as a taxable benefit by HMRC? So yes, generally. A lot of employers cover that for their employees, but generally it gets treated as a benefit in kind. So how do Bank of America employees without child or elder care responsibilities view the provision of backup care? I mean, it touches on the self-care that you mentioned, Alison.
Absolutely. So I think the fact that we promote the range of services, coming back to that point of if you need in-home support yourself, it's not just there for childcare or elder care, it's there for that type of support as well. So we try and make sure that there's that breadth of understanding around it being for carers or those individuals needing care.
Yeah. And I think one of the things that's quite important when you think about the implications of somebody's care breaking down at the last minute, in our Modern Families Index, we looked at what people do when their care breaks down if they don't have access to something like backup care. And, guess what? About 70% of them are taking short notice annual leave. About 20-something% are taking sick leave, even though that's obviously not the purpose of sick leave. It happens. And if you think about the impact on team members, whether or not they have children or other dependents, that's quite an impact, picking up the workload, scurrying around to make things happen. So actually it's sort of smoothing the wheels for everybody by making sure there's a contingency plan.
Absolutely.
Have we seen a decrease in use of other types of absence? Yeah, when backup care is there.
Yeah, and so what I would say, not certainly about when I was in my current role, but in previous roles, I have been involved in projects that point to exactly just that, a location in which sickness absence rates were significantly high, and actually when you get into the detail, most of it is down to childcare or elder care support. So not in this role, but certainly I've seen that in other organisations. It's definitely there.
Brilliant, thank you, Alison. I can see the light is flashing. Is there anything that you wanted to say to wrap up?
Certainly from my perspective, I mean, one of the things I'm always proud of is that it's a service I've used myself, for childcare, for elder care. And so I can, it might sound like I'm sort of sitting here saying, oh gosh, this is a wonderful service, but actually I can genuinely say the service that I got from the individuals that, have come to support both my elderly parents, relations, it's been amazing. So yeah, I'd highly endorse.
Thank you, Alison. Thanks very much indeed. Thank you all.
Thank you.